All right. Hello, everybody. We are live. Hopefully, you can hear me. Everything's working. Got it all fixed on my setup here. And yeah, I haven't gone outside today. Although it's I made it sound kind of dramatic on my Instagram story and like the thumbnail with my frozen self, but it's not. In reality, it's not that cold, and it's a little warmer than I thought it would be. It's at -1 right now where I am, so hopefully where you are, you have power and you're warm. I know we have some folks in the southern hemisphere who are probably would love to feel very cold right now. But yes, hello, James from Las Vegas. Good to have you here. Yes, Bill from Ontario. I'm sure it's pretty cold there. Thank you. Yes. Glad you like the frozen picture one. Yes, from Leesburg, Virginia. Cool. Hopefully, the ice and snow haven't hit you guys too bad. Good evening, Zane. Thanks for tuning in. And Pamakit, hello from France. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, great to have people from all over. And we actually have some news from France that we'll get to in a minute, but I do want to mention at the top of the show, if you go to, it's linked in the description, but if you saw earlier today, I had my Aqara U400 video go live. And if you want to get yourself your very own Aqara U400, you can go right here to my website, which I'll pull up. That will, it's ericw.org/giveaway. And on there, you can subscribe to my Sunday Scene newsletter. Now, if you already are a regular viewer, already subscribed to my Sunday Scene newsletter, it's completely free. You are already entered to win. Now, the winner must have a valid U.S. shipping address, but it'll be randomly selected from my email newsletter subscribers. And I really think the Sunday Scene's becoming something I'm proud of, as something that I make. Obviously YouTube is my main thing in this part of my life, and I focus on doing some good long form and short form videos for you guys. But yeah, I also really like this whole newsletter deal, and I think that it's something that's kind of hitting its own rhythm, moving along pretty well. So I think it would be worth your time to subscribe. It's usually not very long, so you don't have to be into reading like a long newsletter. And it's just really 3 things in the world of Apple and smart home tech worth your attention. So something little to read on Sunday, or whenever you want to, but in your inbox on Sunday. And then, of course, you can also read over here on my website. But yes, so subscribe with the giveaway page to get your own free Aqara U400. So with that, we'll move on to some news. Of course, the Aqara U400 is a U.S. smart lock, and you might be wondering, well, like, what about Europe? What about smart home tech coming to Europe? Well, there's a new thermostat and smart radiator valve from Netatmo that supports Matter. Of course, Netatmo is owned now by Legrand, so it works with the Legrand Control Plus Smart Plus Control home platform. Home Plus Control, that's it, platform and Matter. So if you are looking for a smart radiator valve and you live in Europe, this could be a good option. So unfortunately, not really something. I looked on the Netatmo US website. I see no signs of this device, but we're starting to get a lot more options in the thermostat market. Of course, Eve has their new thermostat for the North American market. Aqara has theirs that they announced at CES as well. And so a lot of exciting stuff coming in the thermostat space, and this is just yet another one to add to the list. So it's nice to see it supporting Matter. I think that's really the big headline here compared to previous ones. So, all right. So Jeff is in Georgia waiting for the storm. All right. Nice. And then, yeah, I agree, Zane. I'd love to see Aqara release a UWB lock for the European market. Maybe it's something we hear about at IFA, but maybe it could be sooner than that. So, but hey, you guys got, or Europe got those smart displays from Aqara, and we haven't gotten those in the US. And talking to them at CES, I don't think they have a clear, they're not willing to say like a timeline of when those are coming to the US. I think there's some electrical challenges with some of those boxes and getting them to work in US switch boxes. So, hey, we get the ultra wideband lock for now, and you still get the smart displays from Aqara. Different things in different markets. But yeah, I agree. I hope you guys get a smart, um, some kind of smart ultra wideband lock soon. Now, on the Apple side of things, and this isn't quite as much smart home, but still something I wanted to call out and mention because I think it's pretty interesting, is that Apple is hosting an event. It's not really like a event per se in the way of like getting on stage and having slides and all the traditional Apple event stuff. From my understanding, it seems to be more like just let's get some creators together to see some new products. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is some kind of new Mac, like we've seen the M5 MacBook Pro, but we haven't seen anything else with the M5, let's say M5 Pro, M5 Max chips. And a couple of years ago, Apple did this in this time of year with the M2. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of what we see there. But if you're in the market for a new Mac, I would say hold off a week and see what happens next week. And with that, there's no guarantee. And the other thing, though, that Apple did mention, of course, is that Creator Studio, their new subscription plan, I think we talked about that in last week's live stream, that's going live on the 28th. So that kind of fits along with having a event for creators in LA at the same time. I was not invited to this event. I wasn't thinking I would be. And I don't, so don't plan on me being there giving you coverage of it, but I do think it's exciting to see Apple doing that event, and we'll see where that goes. What's revealed there? Of course, there's this week on the Apple side. Of course, there's a lot more rumors and news on the Apple side than the smart home side. Of course, we just talked about the Netatmo thermostat and radiator valve control. That's kind of the big smart home news of the week, but with the Apple side, there's also the story from The Information that Apple is developing an AI pin of some kind. Last week, I mentioned that one of the trends I saw at CES was just myself and a lot of other creators were using some kind of an AI pin for going around to booths and getting notes about everything related to a particular booth. And I found that really helpful for my just putting together content and having reference of like, well, what did that company say again about this thing? Of course, we can always go back to press kits and other stuff. Like companies try and make that easy for creators to know about their products, but it's nice to have that quick version of what did they say in the conversation. And I could see Apple wanting to get a piece of that action, and having something really integrated with Apple Notes, with a lot of other Apple devices. I think it could be really cool. Of course, Apple's been making small battery powered devices with the AirPods for a long time now. So it kind of makes sense that they would make some kind of AI wearable pin. Would love to hear your thoughts in the chat. If you would be interested in any kind of thing like this, would it be something where we control our smart homes with it? I don't think so. I think this is more about productivity, but if you have a cool use case for that, would be fun to hear it in the chat. Oh, and thank you, Pamakip, for following up on Netatmo we talked about earlier. They also announced a new version of their outside HomeKit Secure Video outdoor camera, which is HomeKit Secure Video compatible. That is very cool. Let's see if I can pull that up here. I see the new indoor camera advance. So annoying when companies have this on their website where they don't show like the date the thing was announced. So here's just a blog post about the new camera. I don't think this is new this week, but maybe it is. And then you go back and it's like terrible, terrible user experience here on this website. Um, because it doesn't, you go back and it doesn't show you everything. All right. Oh yeah, that's a funny good point, Carl. Like um the the Apple logo pin from that information article is kind of a cool look. And the thing I like about it is like because it has that, I don't know, is that mother of pearl or whatever that is, like kind of that finish does not look like a tech product, right? It looks like just a pin. And I think that's another thing that Apple does well is making things not look like a tech product. The Plod pin that I have, I don't have it handy to put on camera right now, but it definitely looks like a tech product, and this does not necessarily. So I got this covering. There we go. All right. Um, so let's see. With iOS 27, Mark Gurman is back from vacation, and we also had some insight from him on this whole idea that we talked about last week about Apple licensing Google's models for use in Apple's foundation models. And it didn't seem like, based on the initial reports and the information and the announcement from Google, that it would be running on Google servers, that this would be running on Apple servers. But it sounds like, based on what Mark Gurman's saying, there's this new sort of Campos project internally at Apple um, around maybe using Gemini models that are actually running on Google servers or TPU chips um, to work on that. So, we'll see what shakes out there, but I think that is like an interesting turn of events because I was hoping that a lot of this would lead to Apple's privacy alongside some cutting edge AI, but of course, you can't get to that same cutting edge necessarily without running on some really advanced hardware, and Apple isn't really set up to provide that with their current private cloud compute per se. I mean, these ultra chips that they have in their I think it's M2 Ultras or maybe later now, but these ultra chips that Apple has, they're great chips, but not necessarily for the AI workloads. So we'll see. We'll see what shakes out there and what actually ends up shipping. But it's an interesting development and caveat that while it looks like, at least at first, some of the Gemini foundation or the foundations of Gemini powering the foundations of Apple's AI will not will be controlled and run on Apple's servers. It might not be the case for everything. And how is Apple going to message that or make that clear to the user? I'm not sure. All right, cool. So PommyKit has some more stats on this. Let me see if I can pull up something around this. But it's a 2K camera with 130 degree field of view and better Wi-Fi. This is the Nitatmo outdoor camera. Um, that this then this is the old one because it's still 1080p. All right. So this it. Nope. That's still 1080p. Huh. Um. Yeah, I don't see this, but we'll have to follow up later. Yeah, so we'll follow up on the Netatmo stuff. I don't see the camera. I did see, of course, the thermostat and radiator control mentioned, but yeah, good to hear that they're updating their camera. That's really cool. So, um, and then there's some great folks joining the chat. Good to see you here. Yes, Brian, thanks for joining. Yeah, from the cold Midwestern white North. It's yeah. Although as I said at the start of the stream, it's only -1 here right now, and we haven't gotten like tons of snow. So yes, it's cold, but I might be over exaggerating with my thumbnail of me frozen. But every year about this time of year, right, we get like a few cold weeks like this where it's really chilly, and you just live with it and move on. And I know there's folks like Bill in Ontario and others who probably see a lot worse for a lot more of the winter. Edgar's Home Tech, nice to see you here. And if you haven't seen his CES video, it's in my playlist of CES videos from other content creators, smart home creators online. Edgar got engaged. So congratulations to Edgar and your now fiance. It was great to meet you guys at CES, and congratulations. So fun video to go check out as well. But after the stream is over. Yeah, I don't think that Netatmo camera is going to be in America. Just like that thermostat doesn't seem to be in America. And like I was saying last week, because I was interested in the Eve Thermo radiator control that they've been shipping for years with my new office that you might have seen from last week's live stream that I'm renting. There's a radiator control there that I might be able to put a smart control on, but the EU versions of that just are not compatible with US radiators from what I understand, or what at least Eve was telling me. So, yeah. So, anyways, not planning on that coming to the US, given if it's totally a different standard. More Apple news and smart home stuff to talk about. So we got Mark Gurman again back from vacation, talking about John Turnus overseeing more of stuff with industrial design. This is not really a place like a live stream or a channel where I like dissect a lot of the details from Apple's leadership, but I do find it interesting that John Turnus is being put over design, because it's probably an initial step toward him taking over more of the company and potentially becoming Apple's next CEO. And of course, the thing from my side of this that I'm interested to see is how does this influence the smart home side of things? We haven't really, with John Turnus being over hardware, we've seen a little bit of smart home hardware, but of course, the rumors point to Apple moving into a lot more smart home hardware in the next year or two, and a new CEO that might be more like years down the line influencing that. But if there's any like anecdotes from interviews or rumors or other stuff about what is John Turnus's approach or thoughts on the smart home, what does he think about Apple and smart home tech? That's what I'm kind of staying attuned to, and we'll see what comes of that. I also just find it fun to watch the kind of executive shuffle over there. What's happening with that new turnover with the CEO? Big change for Apple, first time in a long time to have a new CEO potentially. Again, all this is rumored, but things are pointing in that direction, and we'll see what happens. But yes. Oh, thanks, Edgar. Yes, we have a great community here of people online, and actually related to that, one thing I wanted to mention was, so yesterday I posted my Aqara U400 review for channel members. So if you're a channel member, you get early access to a bunch of my videos as well as some exclusive videos. And then I got a text from one of my channel members, Shane Watley, and he was mentioning that he's like, "Did you try the dual door mode on my Aqara U400 lock?" And it's something that's supposed to work with storm doors. Now, it's kind of confusing. Let me pull this up in my Aqara app, because it's kind of confusing how they label it right now. But I now understand where it's going. I wasn't thinking this would be something that applies to um what I'm trying to do. Um Here, one sec. Um if I pull this up here on the screen and go to the UWB settings, there is this dual door mode, and then it talks about here how it's if your smart lock is installed on the outermost of two doors, it's recommended that you enable this feature. So I do plan to try this and report back about the dual door mode with the Aqara U400. I didn't want to go outside today or bother testing it today. I also had work to do for my job, so haven't had a chance to test it yet, but probably you'll see something on my channel about the dual door mode. I didn't also really look into solving this problem too hard because, as I mentioned in my review, having so context, if you haven't seen the review yet, if you have a storm door, it can, in certain cases, just kind of delay the detection of ultra wideband because you have this metal and glass thing in front of your lock or between you and the lock. Um, and but the lock is so fast at recognizing it for me that like but before I even finish pulling open the storm door, the lock has recognized that I'm there and unlock the door. So it's not really that big of a problem. It's just you might have this vision. What I was trying to get at in the review is like I had this idea, and you might as well have this idea that, oh, if you get an ultra wideband lock, it's going to be unlocking like before that point. And the storm door just kind of slows that down a little bit. So just something to keep in mind is dual door mode is great. And it was thanks to Shane. I think that was because of someone in his, I'm also a channel member on his channel, and he had someone mention in his Discord about this. And so that's kind of what prompted this. And some folks mentioned in the comments of my video about dual door mode as well, wanting to see if I tried that. So I will report back, but that's kind of the context of dual door mode with the Aqara U400, and where my experience lies with that. So yes, hello Ratchet Gang, good to have you here. Ordered 3 Aqara U400s, nice. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a cool lock. So it's I think right now probably so. There was a live stream at some point towards the end of last year, and someone asked me like, what smart lock should I buy? And I gave what I think in retrospect is just a terrible answer, very ambiguous, not really clearly pointing them in one direction. But it's because like for a while there were so many good home key locks. It's kind of like, well, you have this option from Level Lock if you wanted to look like a nice professional like finished lock with metal, or you have all these options from Aqara and of course Sleek Point and UTech, and I mean the list goes on, right? But now with ultra wideband coming in as like this next level of technology, it's like now the Aqara U400 is really more like, well, this is the lock you should get. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what shakes out with other companies maybe coming out with ultra wideband locks. But, Slage has been really silent since they announced the Sense last year. And I think it's just something that didn't materialize for them in one way or another. But yeah, I think the Aqara U400 is kind of like the lock to beat right now in the smart lock space, which was kind of murky for a while. Oh, cool. Greetings from Romania, the Smart Life. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, good to see you here as well. So another CES thing that I covered that I wanted to bring to your attention, I've had a little bit, it's kind of a interesting story. So I covered of many different companies at CES. One of the things I covered was Pila Energy, and they have a battery. Of course, Pila, I think, means battery in Spanish, but this reel on Instagram, which, by the way, follow me on Instagram if you aren't already. It's, I think, linked in the description. But uh, this is at like 300, 400,000 views right now, something like that, close to 400,000, and lots of comments because apparently that term is also slang for um, your male reproductive organs in Portuguese, especially European Portuguese. So there's a lot of people who just find it hilarious, especially if they understand both English and Portuguese, that this guy is there standing in front of this booth with this big word pila and saying pila. So I haven't seen that on other platforms. I've talked to other creators. Other creators don't seem to have been picked up in the same like movement. I think it's just a coincidence. Maybe the right/wrong people saw it. Um, I obviously, as you probably know, try to keep things pretty clean on my channel. But I just wanted to give it as a word of warning. If you're a creator out there or someone, just be aware of the dual meaning of this word and be careful where you put your pilas and what you say about them. So I think it's a really cool product. We'll see what it's like when it actually ships, but definitely kind of a funny coincidence of what happened what happened to me. I'm not complaining too, and I mean it's great to have the views and the things, and I think there are some people who found me who are interested in smart home tech, right? But found me maybe through that video. But yeah, it's becoming one of the more, not the most, but one of the more viewed things I've made online, which is is a funny claim to fame. Yes, and nice to see you here, Matt. Thanks for tuning in. Another great channel covering a lot of things around batteries and energy as well here on YouTube. But yeah, it's a funny, just kind of coincidence, and um, all good in the end. I think, no hard feelings, but just yeah, weird circumstance. Yeah, I agree, Brian. I think that the U400 will hopefully set a new standard of, all right, ultra wideband is here. And I think it's kind of similar to how we saw with HomeKey when Apple's HomeKey and NFC tap to unlock initially became a thing. There was that time period where there was a lot of smart locks that didn't have it, and it was just a matter of time before a lot of them caught up. So, of course, now we have a lot of really good tap to unlock NFC options, even from really big lock manufacturers like Kwikset and Slage. Of course, Slage was pretty early on the tap to unlock one with HomeKey, but um, I think that another conversation around locks that came in the comments of my video is around rekeying. So people wanting to rekey locks. I've not tried it, but you can. Apparently, it's easier with the U400 than other Aqara locks to rekey it. Of course, Kwikset has their patented way to rekey their locks with very few tools, and it's very simple. And if now Kwikset has NFC tap to unlock. I think it's the Halo Plus Select is their model. Let me check what that model is. But if you're looking at rekeying a lock, and compatibility with your existing keys is really important. The other thing I was mentioning in the comments of my video is just that you might consider just getting a retrofit lock that just goes on the inside of your door, because with that, then you get to keep your existing external lock, your keys. You don't have to worry about that at all. And there's a lot of options there that have some advanced features. Of course, Aliro is coming to not maybe the current version, but some probably future version of Nuki's lock, because Nuki's doing that in Europe with Samsung SmartThings and Apple with the Aliro NFC, so not ultra wideband, but the standard for tap to unlock there. And then there's also the Aqara U200, which has Apple HomeKey support for tap to unlock already, and that's a good retrofit lock. It's very big compared to, let's say, the Nuki deadbolt, but those are two options where you just change out the inside of your deadbolt, and then your outside deadbolt stays the same, and so your keys still work, and that could be really nice. Now, of course, the one downside of a retrofit lock compared to all-in-one is that the keypad is then separate, and that's usually where, like, for the U200, that's where the home key magic and fingerprint is and stuff. So you have to find a place to mount the keypad, but, in some ways, I think that could be arguably more secure 'cause, then someone has to find or know where the keypad is. But just different options, of course, to consider. Trying to find the model number of this lock. So, Quickset's website is not very clear. I think it's like the Halo Plus Select. But yes, right here. The Halo Select Plus touchscreen Wi-Fi Matter-enabled smart lock with Apple Home keys. So, if you do want a easy to rekey option that is a deadbolt, again, this is not ultra wideband, so more choices that are just tap to unlock. And I wouldn't, I mean, Quickset, they don't seem to be super fast about adapting new technology, so I wouldn't guess that they're going to be, having a ultra wideband lock tomorrow, but who knows? Some good talk about locks in the chat. I have 3 Slage and Code pluses. I was going to wait for the UWB Slage, but after seeing your video and others, the U400, cool. Yeah, well, that's good. I think it's a nice upgrade. I mean, the one thing that the Slage and Code Plus has that the Aqara U400 does not. So I think overall, I think it's a great decision. I think the Aqara U400 is definitely an upgrade. One of the things I did mention in that video, and let me go ahead and pull this up to see. So, is that Aqara did mention that the metal version that they showed off at CES would be available at select retailers. They didn't specifically say, they didn't promise a specific retailer, but I have good reason to believe that this might be one of them. And so I just continue to check and search for this website to see if they have a U400 for sale. I haven't seen that yet. So maybe there's some supply chain delay or something in getting the metal one done. But I think Aqara's, I don't have like a version to show you because I don't want to unbox the one that I'm giving away. But I think Aqara's done a really good job with the plastic on this. It looks really nice. But if you're just wanting metal for a particular reason, you just aesthetically, you want a metal lock, it just looks better with your other door hardware. Aqara will have a version of this lock with metal. At least that's what they've said so far at CES. So I continue to stay tuned. I don't see it at Best Buy either or Apple stores, but I'm keeping an eye out to see if it's coming. So. Hey, good afternoon, George. Hopefully the streetcar construction isn't too bad outside of your place these days. Good to see you here, and hopefully you're not too cold as well. I think we're all hit with the same kind of super cold weather this week. Oh, cool. And the Smart Life mentioned they use the U200, and it's great. So yeah, I think it's a great lock. It's one of those that just fell through the cracks in terms of the timing of my videos. So I never ended up actually making a video about the U200. Shane Watley has a great video on it. There's plenty of other creators who have great videos on the U200. Just wasn't something that hit well with. I was working on other projects and didn't see it coming. And yeah, so. Okay, Brandon, that's good to hear because I mean I haven't heard anything more from Slage other than just like what they announced at CES last year. So, yeah, and John brings up a good point about SwitchBot. They have some good locks with palm recognition, and I don't know. Like we'll see when they are able to add ultra wideband support. They seem also really focused on a lot of the robot side of things. So but I mean, they also are doing a lot of things. So I'm sure they could also fit in the smart lock. Um, so yeah, we'll see what SwitchBot does. The other one to consider as well that I mentioned in my CES smart home video um, is Lock-in. Now, Lock-in has had already shipping palm vein recognition locks, right? So the Vino Pro is an existing lock that already ships, and you put your hand up. I was initially kind of skeptical of this whole idea, but trying it at CES with a Vino Pro, and there's I think a couple other companies I tried. There's like, okay, I can start to see the practical like value of this. And I mentioned this in my Aqara U400 review too. It's like I'm always walking around, even the yard, and doing yard work with at least my Apple Watch on, if not my phone and my watch. So for me, ultra wideband is way more convenient. But if you find yourself without, you don't wear an Apple Watch or anything like that, or, whatever reason you find yourself without any electronics on your body, imagine that. So scary. No connected electronics on your body. What are you going to do with your life? But with that, then you always have your hands, so you can always unlock that way. Now, the cool thing they announced at CES that's new coming is the Vino Pro wireless. And let's see, I don't know if I have a good visual to show this, but it's optical power. So then you'll be able to send power wirelessly up to 4 meters, which is crazy, to the lock from this like optical transmitter. Now, it's probably not the most power efficient thing in your home, right? It's not going to be something that is efficient, but it is cool, and it is also something that removes the need for batteries on your smart lock. So something to consider. I am kind of surprised thinking about it out loud too, that like we don't see more companies making some kind of solar power for smart locks. You could do it, but I mean, a lot of people do have storm doors, like we were talking about earlier with the U400. So, yeah. All right. So here's Brandon with the real cold weather from Minnesota. Negative 21 here currently. No big deal. So impressive. All right. So yeah, I'm at -1. It sounds like George is at 1 degree. So over in Nebraska. So, all right. Yes, Brandon is showing us all cold weather's no big deal. But yes, I agree, Pummikit. The Aliro locks that we saw from Nuki at IFA also look really good. So they had some nice demos of that with the new keypad and everything. It's hard to tell too. Nuki wasn't able to say like if it's actually going to require a deadbolt change or if it's just the keypad. That you could potentially get a new keypad and use with the existing locks. I'm not sure. But yeah, Brandon, I did a video. Speaking of, that's a whole funny side topic, which we could probably talk about in the chat too, is just like what tech works and doesn't work in extreme cold and where do things break. I did a video a while back on my channel of Philips Hue indoor light bulbs that I had installed in my outdoor lights at the time. And those have since been changed to different light fixtures and powered by a Lutron switch. And my smart home evolves over time. But the indoor Philips Hue light bulbs worked completely fine in that year. We had really cold weather. So it was like you're saying, it was down to -20 degrees here, Fahrenheit. And convert that for you folks who don't use Fahrenheit. It was -20 degrees Fahrenheit, which is -28.89 Celsius. And the light bulbs worked fine. But that's a fun topic. Almost like what does something look like when I cut it open, right? What smart home tech actually survives the extreme cold? I'd love to see a video like that from one of you guys up in Minnesota. Oh yeah, and that's another thing with NFC too, and that does work on the U400 as well. Is NFC unlocking is still possible on the U400, and Aqara sells those little NFC tags, and other companies do for their particular locks. Of course, if you get a level lock, they have their own version of the NFC tags, and that can be a nice way to give someone a key that's not a physical key, but is potentially easier than a PIN code, depending on who it is or the context, or if it's just you yourself and you just want to have an NFC tag on you. That can be nice. Oh, good question, Zane. Um, yeah, hopefully I don't lose my heating. Um, how's my journey with Homey? Recently moved from Home Assistant to Apple Home to Homey and Home Assistant Apple Home to Homey and Apple Home, and no regrets so far. Cool, Zane. Yeah, I think Homey's been fine for me overall. I have had plans to do some more stuff with it, but I haven't had a chance because sort of I made that video and then I had a handful of things to do, and then CES, and then post CES and the U400 review. So I actually have uh um so my Mac Mini is so right now I use a Homey Pro Mini, and what I want to try is some of their new Homey self-hosted stuff where you can run it on your Mac because it looks like a really sleek setup. So I'm gonna be playing with that. I actually my desk setup right now is back to just being my MacBook Pro, which goes with me everywhere. It's like my main computer. And I used to have my Mac Mini here. It's kind of like a always on setup, but I moved it back to being in the closet, so to speak, and it's going to run a handful of things for me again. I'm playing with it for a couple of video concepts, but one of those is just around playing with the Homey hosted on a Mac Mini. I think there's something to be said for whether you're running Home Assistant or Homey, or I mean, a Mac Mini is such a flexible and very powerful system to run a lot of stuff in your home on. And since I already have one, it's fun to play with those ideas. So I mean, of course, last year I made a video on how you could use a Mac Mini to replace your network attached storage and the benefits there, trade offs. Um, but the challenge there, of course, is you're spending a lot of money on the Mac Mini that then you don't have anything in terms of a RAID controller, right? You have to buy like some kind of external hard drive for your or enclosure for your hard drives. But yeah, I'm gonna be playing more with the Mac Mini and like what can I do with it? And one of those things is Homey. And the thought process there is that with more RAM, I can just cram more things into Homey. Homey Pro, of course, gives you that with the new Homey Pro with more memory. And I think what I've seen so far, Homey's completely fine dealing with stuff, even on a Homey Pro Mini. It's not like super underpowered, but it's just something I'm playing with is sort of like the next step in my Homey journey is like doing the self-hosted version and seeing how that goes. Um, so we'll see. I do still like Homey's UI, and I like their auto update stuff is just easy and nice, less to manage than Home Assistant. Excuse me, but we'll see. I don't want to count Home Assistant out either because I still think there's a lot of people out there who use that, and I don't want to ignore that. I don't want to ignore that either. Uh, so of course, yeah, I have my. I got my, speaking of cold weather, I had my Open Home Foundation hat from Brandon, orchestrated some stuff at CES with Home Assistant as one of the sponsors, and I was on a panel with Paulus, who's the founder. They're the winter hat I got from them is actually upstairs because it's a really good winter hat, and so I've been wearing it as it's been cold here, as just to keep my head warm. So it's ironic too. I have a very large head, and so most hats are too small for my head. And this Home Assistant one is like the first one I've seen in a while that's like really big, and so it fits my head. So yeah, Home Assistant hats, great for people with big heads. But it's swag. I can't remember. It's they're made by Beachfield, I guess, is the company that actually makes the hats. So good stuff. Um, oh, that's good to hear. Your car bulb's working well in the outdoor temps, similar cold weather. So that's good to hear. Oh, interesting. So the MyQ video garage door opener cannot handle the cold for Brandon. Um, hey Saul, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully it's still warm enough for you to be wearing shorts today. Uh, yeah, smart tech durability. Thanks, Matt. Is a great topic. I had a Slade Smart lock on my back door and got killed twice because of water intrusion. Oh man. Yeah, so water getting into the lock. That's a bummer. Um, Oh yeah, so we were talking about this earlier. It's -2 right now, -1, -2. Yeah, we're down to -2 now. But it's not, I've seen way worse. But the Yarbo, okay, PoE cameras, but the battery power ones died. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm looking at my Unify setup and all my Unify cameras are still working fine, although I would expect that at around 0 degrees. Um, probably be more when you get down to the Brandon's -20 temperature. That's a different category. Let's see. Oh yeah. So John, I bought a Mac Mini when they came out, and I had this intention of using it like as my main computer, which was not a smart idea. and um, so mine is an M4 Pro with 24 gigs of RAM, and a terabyte SSD. So it's pretty substantial, but I still think a lot of the stuff that I do for the smart home side of it, I don't see any reason you wouldn't be able to do it with the 16 gigabyte RAM M4 standard version. It just happens to be that I have this Mac Mini, and I used it for a while for a variety of things, but I've just kind of kept it, and it's actually been a fun topic for the smart home side of things. Is like it is an Apple device that you wouldn't really categorize as smart home, but it really is. Like in certain, depending, you can use it that way. Mac Minis have lots of different uses. And so it's been a fun side of exploring like power user smart home stuff with the Mac Mini, and I want to do more of. We'll see. There's all these great products coming out I want to take a look at too. So it's a matter of what makes the schedule for videos. But okay, cool. Home Assistant now is a flow. All right. Good. Just catching up on the chat here. Um, so it probably looks a little bit weird because I'm looking at the chat through my prompter, so it just looks like I'm just staring at you with like this blank stare as I'm reading the chat. But so sorry about that. Probably a weird experience for you, the viewer. Um, Man, we've been going for a little while now. Love to hear if you have any questions about smart home tech, about Apple, hopes and dreams, thoughts for 2026 and smart home and Apple world. But yeah, I'm trying to see. Let's talked about the U400. I've also been 3D printing a bunch of stuff too. Loving my 3D printer. I think I mentioned this. I used to have the Bamboo Lab A1, but I upgraded with a Black Friday sale last year to the P1S, which is a little bit not as up to. It's not as new of a model from Bamboo Lab, but it's like kind of a level up from where I was, and it fully enclosed. And I have the AMS2 Pro, which does like the drying of the filaments and stuff. So really enjoying that. I actually got my daughter an Alex drawer set from IKEA, and then we're filling that with all kinds of Gridfinity grids for her craft stuff, and building out like a nice little craft setup for all of her different, pens, pencils, markers, stuff like that. Finding all the different versions of things that fit Gridfinity for different types of markers and scissors and things. So that's been a fun project to work on with her as sort of like a, you know, father-daughter uh, project. So, I didn't see much in terms of 3D printer tech, Ratchet Gang. Eufy Make had a bunch of stuff at IFA around their oh, I forget the technology now, but it's like printing stuff into like a coffee mug. Um, but yeah, I also wasn't looking. But I didn't see like, oh, there's the massive Bamboo Lab booth, right? I didn't see anything like that. Doesn't mean it wasn't there, but I didn't see it. There's kind of this funny thing about CES, and I was thinking about this year. It's like at the beginning of CES, you have this hope and dream that you're going to cover so much of the show, and it's like so exciting. And you're like, oh, I'm going to go see this and do this and this, and I'm going to get over here to, this part of the show, go see more of the projectors and all this other stuff. And like, then by Wednesday evening and Thursday, you just kind of resign yourself to like, all right, this is all I'm going to be able to see. There's nothing more to get to there's nothing more I have time for, right? And so I pretty much end up just focusing on smart home and robots. But based on the view numbers this year, it seems like, at least by the time I published my video, I think there was a lot of preconceived notions around the robots at CES were a joke. They're terrible. They're not helpful. So my video on robots got like no views. So maybe I'll cover robots less next year at CES. We'll see. Um, Either way, it's just like it's more of a niche topic. I love robots and I think they're really cool, and so I make videos because I think it's cool. But I also have to keep in mind I want to make stuff that you guys want to watch. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see with what comes next year. Maybe I'll have different focuses in my video. Maybe more into 3D printing if there's stuff around there that I see that looks cool. But yeah, that's the state of things. Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, photography shows. I'm sure NAB. I see creators try and cover NAB. That's a pretty big one. That just seems very multifaceted. All right. So yeah, I'm William tuning in from New York. Thanks for tuning in on the road, William. Good to see you here. 16 degrees where you are, so not quite as cold, but still chilly. Hopefully the travel for you, William, is not too disrupted. I know that there's a lot of, air travel can be a mess with all these kind of storms and cold weather. So hopefully that works out. We had a lot of people at my job, or not a lot, but a number of people at my job traveling this week for some stuff at work, and just thankfully able to get home in time or before everything got really bad. So yeah, I mean, back to robots. We could go on and on about the robots at CES, Brandon. I agree. The Saros rover seems to really be the one that steals the show as far as the most practical, useful. Roborock just once again kind of showing their prowess on making vacuums. I thought Dreamy's booth was very impressive as well. Disclosure, they did sponsor a short that I did, but I mean, I work with Dreamy because I work with Dreamy on sponsorships because I also think they make great stuff. So they had some really good vacuums, and this whole CyberX thing I think is a fun trick. I don't know if I don't know. Like, I think I'm more excited, practically speaking, about something like the X60 Ultra or Max Ultra than I am about the CyberX. But CyberX is a cool demo and fun trick to be able to like send your robot up the stairs. But yeah, then that's where the rover I think has the practical benefit of like it can actually clean the stairs from Roborock. I also think, as I mentioned in that video from mine, the robots you'd actually buy right from CES, the things that are probably actually like should be on your radar. The X60 Max Ultra looks really promising. The Saros 20 from Roborock also looks really good. The Saros 10R last year was a very good robot from Roborock. I think one of the best, X50 Ultra, Ecovacs X11 Omnicyclone, and the Roborock 10R are kind of up there for like the best vacuums of 2025. And I think the Saros 20 looks to be right along that line for 2026. So we'll see. Oh, thanks, Tom. I'm glad got some fans of the robot video here. So yeah, I mean, I have fun talking about robots. So it's kind of one of those things where I might still talk about it, even as I know that it's a more niche topic. It's the same thing with there's a lot of these little topics within smart home tech, right? There's home robotics, there's home audio, there's home theater, and things like projectors. And I think a lot of those things are really cool and fun. And it's easy for me to say, oh, you should buy one, when a lot of times in reality, right? Like, I'm getting these things sent to me from the company so that I can cover it. Cause there's no way I could afford to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on all the tech that it would require for me to buy all that stuff. But with that, it's just, it is a kind of inherently, because of the price, only so many people are able to spend $1,500 on a robot vacuum or $3,000 on a projector, or it just, not to mention the screen and where you're going to put it in your home and things like that, and the sound system. So I think those things are more attainable than they ever have been before. And they're becoming really, really good, even at the low end of the models for robot vacuums and other stuff, that yeah, it's becoming more something that I think should have a broader appeal. But I think a lot of people come to YouTube with sort of preconceived ideas around what they think robots or projectors are and stuff, and then they do or don't click on videos about that because they think, oh, I'm not interested in that, I'm not in the market for that. It's just my same like rant on that. It's my same opinion on smart home tech for renters. There is so much great smart home tech you can use in an apartment, and you do not need to own your home, and a lot of great quality of life improvements. But I think there's a lot of people who categorically just ignore all smart home tech until they actually get to the point where they're buying their own place. Could be buying an apartment or a home, right? But that they just think, oh, I'm not going to think about that until I buy a place. And I get it to a certain extent, right? Like, you probably need to save money for a down payment and all this stuff. Why distract yourself with all this new ways to spend money? But at the same time, I'm thinking, like, there's this whole cool side of life that you're just missing out on because you haven't gotten into it because you rent. And I know there's folks who watch my channel who do rent and do buy smart home tech, and I think that's great. But you're certainly a minority. So it's like that funny idea of, like, when and how are you able to change people's minds about something is a tricky thing online sometimes. Yeah, George's shoe wall. Um, yes. Oh, thank you. Yes, George. Yeah. So I think we had a chat message about this earlier, but yeah, it was a fun thumbnail. Just I took the usual thumbnail and sent it to Google's Nano Banana model and told it to make a version of me frozen, and it delivered. So it's fun to do that. I mean, it's pretty clear, right, in that case, that it's an AI generated image. I'm not trying to hide that in any way, but I'm not actually that frozen. But I'm glad you enjoyed the image. Might try some other fun spoofs on that usual picture of myself in different, changing it in different ways for each week, depending on the theme. Yeah, so far all my outdoor smart home tech seems to be working fine. I still have internet. We're still connected. We're still live here. My furnace is running right now, which is great. Yeah, Nano Banana from Google is a really fun model for that kind of thing, where you're trying to take something similar and keep the context, but then change it in a certain way. So, um, all right. Well, we've been going about an hour. See if we have any more questions or anything I missed in the chat. Yeah, John, I'd love to see Apple TV get updated later this year. Um, yeah, and I agree, Brandon. Back to the whole CyberX or stair cleaning thing. I do think, generally speaking, two robot vacuums make sense, especially because a lot of people in the market for a robot vacuum, they might be upgrading from an existing model that you can move to another floor. And just give it some good maintenance, clean it, buy some new parts for like the mop pads and other things, and you'll have a big improvement on your existing vacuum just to put somewhere. Um, the other thing with that, but it is, I think it's still fun to see the robot go from different floors, but I practically speaking. And the other thing too with robot vacuums, as I was kind of getting at earlier, is just like you can you could take your old robot vacuum and still use it on a floor where you need less cleaning, right? That's one option we just mentioned, but like the robot vacuums that you can get these days for $500 on sale. I think I saw something about Ecovacs having a sale for their T80 Omni right now on Amazon. That is one that um, like I haven't tried this particular vacuum, but I've tried one similar from Ecovacs, and like, yeah, it's down I probably do a deals post on my website about this, but it is down to $549 right now, regularly 1,000. Let's see what the price is on Camel for this thing, but you know, it's a great vacuum for $500. So you're not talking about, it's going to be cheaper certainly than buying any kind of robot that takes your robots between floors. See what this, the camel history for this vacuum. Yes, I am human. Yeah, so I mean, not a huge discount off of recent sales, but still, whoops. But still pretty low for the vacuum, and certainly lower than it was at various points last year. And that's the thing, is like as the new versions keep coming out, I think at CES they had the T90 Omni as well as the X12 Omni Cyclone. Um, so the T series from Ecovacs tends to be their more budget friendly options, but they're still pretty good robots. And I'm sure there's other examples of that kind of robot, but yeah, if that interests you, I'll just if you're watching the stream later, I'll drop an affiliate link in the description below. But that is pretty good vacuum. So oh yeah, you can see my my Amazon cart there. Whoops. Whatever. So with that, let's see if there's anything else I didn't get to. Random question. I just watched your Aqara U400 video. Thank you. Can you share the Apple Home Key with family members? Do you know if they're required to be in your HomeKit home to do so? Great question. Yes, you do. You can share with your family. They do need to be in your Apple Home. One thing I haven't tried lately that Apple added to Apple Home a while ago, which I should probably like revisit in a video or something, try it out soon, is the guest mode. So there is a way to like add a home member as a guest now for limited access and some other things, and that I think should share a home key pass, but the most reliable way to do it is through they are also part of your Apple Home. So that means they can manage all your accessories. Now, you can limit people who are in your Apple Home of whether they can or cannot add or remove accessories, right? So someone could just be a part of your Apple Home. They can control all the smart home stuff, but they're not going to be able to set up automations or add accessories or stuff like that. So that could be a nice role to consider. And also, people who are added to your Apple Home can be part of multiple Apple Homes, right? So someone who might come over to your house pretty frequently, let's say a close family member, maybe they have their own Apple Home, but they can also be a part of yours, and switch between those in the Home app, and otherwise, an Apple Home in the Wallet app, you can have keys or passes, so to speak, for multiple home key locks and homes. So keep all that in mind as you're looking at it, but it does work across family members, provided they're in your Apple Home. Then aside from that, then you start to get into PIN codes as well as NFC tags. One other detail about HomeKey that I didn't mention, I don't really have a good way to show this right now, but I didn't mention in this Aqara video because it's more like HomeKey specific, and something I've talked about previously in the channel is, so in Apple Home, you can assign PIN codes to different values, right? So you can give someone a PIN code, and then you can give that PIN code a name of like, oh, this is so and so. And then in your security records inside of Apple Home, you can see when that particular PIN code is used based on the name of the you gave the code, right? So it's it's so and so's code, it's this family's code, whatever, and then you can see when it's been used, which just gives a nice peace of mind. And there also are ways to limit the scheduled access. Of course, Aqara has its own parallel system for managing PIN codes as well. You can use that. So different options there. And the PIN codes, I mean, numbers you enter on the keypad to get in the home. So lots to consider with HomeKey. And the other cool thing too is, as I mentioned in the video, the Aqara U400 does support NFC, which means that if you have an older Apple device that only works with NFC HomeKey and doesn't work with ultra wideband, it can use that. Or if for some reason the ultra wideband doesn't trigger, you can still tap to unlock, and that works too. So you got options. But yeah, with that, we've been going a little bit, a long time now. I'm feeling pretty tired after about an hour of this. Great to have you here. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, no code for so and so. Yeah. Oh, thanks, capturing photos. Yes. Have a great rest of your Friday and your weekend, and stay tuned. I'm going to be drawing tonight, or when did I say I'm going to be drawing this? Oh yes. So if you subscribe to my newsletter by tonight at midnight Central Time, US Central Time, then you'll be entered to win the Aqara U400 lock that I'm giving away right here. So, yes, subscribe to my newsletter, ericw.org/giveaway. And I'll be picking a winner, and you'll be hearing from me on Sunday with a new edition of the newsletter. So with that, thanks, and have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.